Welcome in to the final episode, unless we're doing some sort of recap episode of the Need for Screens College Football Podcast presented by the Pregame.com Podcast Network. Ben is drinking
Wild turkey.
an oak barrel aged whiskey with an E or without an E, I'm not sure. Some wild turkey after
I've been losing a few college basketball bets, so I have to save some money. So downgraded a bit.
downgraded a bit. Got it. Well, that's what this season is for. We're about to stretch the Need for Seeds College Basketball Podcast as one of us is supporting the merch at Big East Ben is now putting out there. We did record a Saturday College Basketball Podcast just a few hours ago before at Big East Ben went out to dinner and had his Rocky Mountain oysters, his weekly serving.
I had sushi. I had a Mexican roll, which is like fried shrimp with some spicy mayo on it.
Mm.
And then I had the Twister roll, which was the premium deluxe $20 roll that had also fried lobster. Um, yeah, sushi's healthy, so even if the stuff in it's fried, you're still good.
Right. And as are the sauces that you put on it and the wild turkey you drink next to it.
And the
Um,
crab rangoon you eat before it.
right. Yes, because there's nothing but health in a crab rangoon. Well, I'm glad a big Friday night was had by at Big East Ben. He's back twirling his chair. We're going to get out some best bets. We didn't do great in our best bets last week. We're going to cover the two games that were played, and then we'll get you a best bet end of show. We'll also recap the best moments of the first inaugural season of the Need for Screens College Football Podcast. Um, I lost my bet and my uh, I guess a second straight semifinal game that I attended. I took Texas +6 or +5.5. I think they climbed to 6 before kickoff. You had the under in the Penn State Notre Dame game, which should have gone under, but the idiot points were a thing, or it was just a huge scoring fourth quarter. Did you take anything away from that game that you think that Notre Dame has some hope offensively against Ohio State? We'll get into the box score in a second, but just wanted to get your thoughts on beforehand.
Yeah, Riley Leonard's a beast. He can run the ball. Jeremiah Love, for all the talk about him being banged up and questionable, he was still hurdling guys. I feel good about the Irish. That was bullshit. Drew Aller, you're a freaking moron, dude. Like you saw on the silence saying, I always screw things up. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Jesus Christ, that interception was brutal.
Do you put that on James Franklin for knowing his quarterback was an idiot and still trying, or do you think that he would have gotten heckled, booed, whatever, even worse if he had just run the clock out and
If he
went?
pulled the John Madden and telling the Patriots to only play for overtime in Super Bowl 2001.
I didn't recall that, but rest in peace. You got to put the duck inside the chicken, inside the turkey, and then you go boom, and you have a turducken.
RIP. Yeah, man, that under should have hit. It was 10-3 at halftime.
It was 10-10 at the end of the third quarter, even.
Yep. And Penn State gets that Notre Dame gets that pass interference call, or Penn State gets a pass interference call, the interceptions,
There were two of those, by the way.
the Penn State falling, the corner falling down for the 80 like 60-yard
Falling down or
touchdown.
getting roasted was my question.
He took two steps and fell. Like the receiver didn't even put a move on him. He just tripped, turf toe.
Mm, mm.
But yeah, I mean, your game. It was nice to see Texas get a little bit of their own medicine from the 1 yard line.
I feel like the my desire and hope for Steve Sarkisian to get a NFL offer is just climbing by the day. But I don't know if it's going to happen. And I do think first and goal from the one after Ohio State could not stop cheating and just moving the ball closer and closer to the goal line with every foul that you could occur. Um, the I guess a takeaway because Texas couldn't run the ball for the last two games of the playoff that they were in until elimination. I don't know necessarily if how good Ohio State's rush defense is. Everything coming into the game, Ohio State this, Ohio State that. Um, for all that occurred in that game, it was amazing to me that this famed Ohio State team who was so much better than Texas in a pro Texas crowd to say the least, probably 70% Texas fans in Dallas. Um, I didn't think Ohio State was that good. I was not very impressed. Their defense was great, but I'm not necessarily sure. I don't think in any world they deserve to be a 6 point favorite on a neutral, slash giving home field advantage potentially to the road team. Did you come away from that differently? Because clearly I have burnt orange glasses on.
Yeah, I mean Texas was right in that game. Ohio State still like a lot of like self-inflicted penalties looked lifeless in the second half. I mean, dude, if you take away that, I mean, oh my God, dude. My high school team could have stopped that screenplay at the end of the first half. Like, how bozos do you have to be to realize, hey, there's eight of us in the backfield? Uh-oh, something must be wrong. Hey, why doesn't someone call out screen? Jesus Christ, that's junior JV shit. How do you let that happen? How do you let that happen?
And with all the momentum too, because we had just scored after Arch Manning came in. I thought he fumbled. Hopefully it was not the one break that I ever got that I couldn't even tell. But looked like he fumbled. Looked like he fumbled in the stadium. But then he was not really seen from or heard from again, which I think did come up later in the game when we got to the goal line, and Sark was again refusing to put Arch Manning, the famed quarterback of the future, who literally can't get a second in a game that matters unless our team is in a disastrous state against Georgia at home in October or so. Um, but I think and then the hard part, especially when we're sitting there with plus sixes, me and everyone I'm sitting with essentially, and we're like, man, maybe they kick a field goal here and cover the spread and then try to get the ball back because it didn't look so great when we kept going backwards, and then the lateral toss play, whatever that went directly east west and then way south. We're like, well, we're probably
I
done
don't,
here.
Griffin, I don't know why teams at the college level or the pro level run that play anymore. The guys on defense are too fast, are too strong. Like it's an outdated play. It doesn't work anymore. The days of LaShawn McCoy getting the toss and CJ 2K getting the toss and going around and outside are long gone at both the college and pro level.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, Sark only diagrams the first 25 plays before the game starts, so he didn't have anyone to help him when the game was actually kicked off in the fourth quarter. And that's been a problem with Texas for a long time. Of course, being down seven and really struggling to stop Ohio State when they got to the red zone was an issue. But I mean, it's going into halftime 7-7, way different game if they don't give up a 75-yard screen pass for a touchdown. And we could kind of see it coming because it was like, it was on our end of the field. We were in one of the end zones. Texas alumni seating is always a joke. I would almost recommend you just buy it from StubHub or whatever instead. But you could see like the guys getting a ton of pass rush, as you mentioned, and then all the secondary middle linebackers like drifting backwards. And then it was like, oh no, there's a big cavalry in front of this guy with the ball. And 75 yards later, and I don't even know if he got touched. It was a touchdown. And then to come back from that to make it 14 all, I thought was a good showing from Texas. Got 0 points from Ohio State in the third quarter. And then, of course, touchdown scored. If they just throw that incomplete or something like that, they potentially get a stop of Ohio State, get to come back down and try to score again. Instead, I got this text from this random number. Now I know you have to gargle Jack Sawyer's ball sack. I wonder, did you get that text?
I didn't get that text. Is that from who do we know was a Buckeye?
That was actually from you. You sent that to me right as it happened, and like literally Jack Sawyer or whatever that sounds like a pirate. He was literally running right into like my camera because I was taping it because I was like, oh my God, here we go. Here's the score to tie the game. But all I can think of is what would happen to the Need for Seeds or the Need for Screens college football podcast if I did that after a tough Marquette victory? I don't think it would go very well. And I think
Yeah, if you texted me now, you have to lick DJ Burns' butthole, something like that.
Especially as you have a broken hand from putting a dent in the American
I'm
Airlines
sorry, man.
plane.
That
Like,
was
oh,
uncalled for. I apologize. That was uncalled for. I'm sorry.
well, at least all our listeners know, and apparently you didn't even remember it. So, like,
Yeah.
who's a Buckeye? Who do you associate with that's a Buckeye? Okay, so now it's
Can I also say one more thing about that game?
sure, go ahead.
On your last drive, the tight end catches a 30-yard post, points at Ohio State corner DB that he shrugged off, and they toss on sports. That is so freaking soft by the refs. That was on the final drive, right? Am I recalling that correctly?
Well, I think that was the drive that before the final drive that we ended up not scoring, right? Uh,
I can't remember. But that, like, to call that just the point? Like, are you kidding me? On
I
sports,
think,
come on.
well, for
He
it's
didn't throw the
especially
ball in his face. Like, it's just a point. Yeah, NBA guys do it all the time when they cross someone up.
can't can't do
James
it on
Harden does it all the time.
you can't do it in college basketball anymore. You can't even look at the bench, as I saw Jackson Robinson almost get two technicals at home against Texas A&M this week for Kentucky. Um, yeah, I mean, especially while consider Gunnar Helm was literally like at fault for a huge drop and then took a little bit of a hit, dropped the ball, and that doesn't even begin to speak of whatever Worthy did, kicking the ball, what they should have caught into someone else's arms or failing on fourth down. It was a lot of bad things happened. I guess you should expect that from a college football game. But time to, I guess, get into it before we get to our moments of the year. And then, of course, we'll give best bets end of show. But right now we have Ohio State 8-point favorites. Total is 45. Initial thoughts on, I mean, numbers climbed over a touchdown now. So if you're back in Notre Dame, you just need them to hang in this game. We've seen blowouts in championship games before. How do you feel about this new number, I guess, on Notre Dame? And what do you feel about, I mean, has anything you saw in the semifinal round changed your interest in not in seeing more punts than touchdowns?
Yeah, I mean, I think Notre Dame can get home. I think they can get to Will Howard. I'm not too impressed with Ohio State's offensive line. The Ohio State's defense is impressive. Notre Dame also has a very impressive defense. I mean, they shut down Penn State's running game for the most part. Um, the Irish have God on their side. Like Riley Leonard's the most won't shut up about his goddamn prayer group every single
Yeah.
interview.
Yeah, God bless or bless you, or I think someone sneezes every time he gets interviewed. But honestly, that also the God stuff hasn't really worked for Notre Dame in the past, unless Riley Leonard has suddenly made the Catholics versus convicts actually realistic. I feel like we've seen Notre Dame get blown out in Miami before. We've seen them get blown out a lot.
Well, Griffin, no one for Notre Dame has had a story about their fake girlfriend come out this week, unless I missed something.
I have not seen it, but that would be amazing because considering I think we had Manti Te'o doing a halftime during like Christmas at Netflix Day in the NFL. I was like, whoa, where did he come from?
On Netflix?
I feel like he was doing halftime, if I'm
Those
not.
games sucked. I barely watched those games.
I'm pretty sure he was in there with I don't with RG3, some NFL network. They basically borrowed all this talent from all the other networks, and I'm like, did Melanie Collins get like CBS to sign a waiver to let her out of the whatever she was doing? And then she was on the sideline like a couple days later in the NFL. So I guess whatever it was, what it was. Uh,
Throw us on there.
I mean, we might as well come on and give you some guaranteed winning best bets until the fourth quarter, you know? That's our I think that's been our biggest hurdle this year on the Need for Screens College Football podcast. Getting
I
through
did, I did, I did have an in with. I was watching the Marquette George Mason game on Peacock TV. I was
mm,
going off on Twitter how about when the shot clock when the timer went under 60 seconds, they wouldn't have a decimal place
mm,
next to the number as all, score bugs do. When you
yeah.
go under a minute, you'll have 59.5, 47.3. They didn't have it. It would just slowly choke you down. I was going off about it because, that's BS. And some guy responds to me and I look at is like this will be fixed, and I look at it, and it's like the guy's head of like streaming sports production at NBC used to play for Providence back in the day.
God,
Um,
Sham God?
yeah, Tyler Crozier. No,
Whoa, Marshawn Brooks? He works
every
for Peacock now?
so I said thank you, and then I looked him up. I'm like, hey, if you need like any, everyday handyman college pass, I know you're trying to grow it on Peacock. Everyone's really pissed about it. Maybe you could, if you want some everyday handyman input, why don't you bring on the Need for Seeds? We got merch now. I didn't say it.
We do have merch. I'm wearing it. They also could like I don't know, not have a homeless guy doing their gambling picks on Peacock as well. I clearly not trained on TV, but I guess Peacock's just trying to, I guess, fart their way through it. I don't know why I said that word, but that's the first thing that came to my mind that wasn't a curse. All right, so. Let's get a little bit deeper in this game. So 8 point favorites, 45 is the total. Or 8.5 point favorites now, I guess. Eight is probably the more across the board line. We saw Riley Leonard. He had 223 passing yards in that first game. We'd expect Notre Dame as a big underdog to be down. Um, Over under right now I'm seeing is 178 and a half yards on Riley Leonard. Do you think that, yes, Ohio State defense is going to be great, but don't you think that feels a little bit soft considering what he put up against Penn State, though he surely looks like more of a running quarterback, whatever that's worth in college?
The passing prop.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Notre Dame's gonna keep it on the ground, man. I mean, if they're gonna throw anything, it's gonna be like short slants, bubble screens, and you might get lucky with one of these receivers breaking one, turning into Texas at the end of the first half. But
Hmm.
it's gonna be quick. They haven't run anything down the field all season with this guy under center, and it's worked for them, save
Yeah.
for Northern Illinois.
Yeah, I also would think that with defensive coaches, you're probably not doing anything crazy offensively unless you really feel good about something, which I wouldn't expect. Looking at the box score, so Jeremiah Love with 45 rush yards, though he's clearly somewhat hampered, not so much with the hurdling skill or whatever. But Leonard had 35 rush yards, so that tells me then maybe it's a little bit more interesting to look at the rushing totals. We've got Jadarian Price at 24 and a half yards, Jeremiah Love at 44 and a half and Riley Leonard down at 36 and a half. So that's, I mean,
Jeremiah loves 44 and a half.
that's 44 and a
I
half.
would hammer the over on that.
So the question I guess you have to then worry about is, so
If
yeah,
Ohio State gets up big and they stop running the ball.
that's one thought, but I was going to first go to re-injury risk because yeah, he's going to try to be out there, but we already know he's banged up. He's also going to be against maybe I mean, what everyone was saying before the Texas game was God's gift to a defensive line. And he only had 45 yards on 11 carries. Riley Leonard had 18, so he's definitely competing against his quarterback for rush attempts, which is not great. Plus, Jadarian Price had 7 carries in that game as well. I don't know. I don't know exactly if Marcus Freeman or whatever the heck is whoever decides those sort of things in the Notre Dame program, if they're kind of a play the hot hand type of thing. But it feels like Ohio State's defense is going to be strong enough. There are not going to be a lot of hot hands. One more thing I want to get to before we get into I guess, our recap of the season and then our best bets end of show was, are you familiar with the squeaky wheel that you might hear in the NFL fantasy world?
The squeaky wheel gets the grease.
The squeaky wheel does get the grease. So that's an analogy or like an idiom, I think, from just real world life. But I feel like the biggest hype around receivers from Ohio State in that first matchup was a guy that only had one catch for 3 yards, and that's
Yeah.
Jeremiah Smith. Now he's projected for, or I guess the over/under is 5.5 catches in the national championship, but over/under receiving yards is a pretty high number at 80 and a half right now. Do you think he's going to potentially bounce back and that would be the potential avenue for Ohio State to really get up big on Notre Dame?
I mean, the guy has big play potential. I mean, you just throw a deep ball back shoulder and he goes and gets it. I mean, Penn State was doubling him the entire game. I'm assuming, Marcus Freeman isn't an idiot. He's smart. He's good looking.
Oh,
He's young.
hmm.
He's going to employ the same tactic. It's built.
Copycat. You forgot to say he is a copycat.
It's North Carolina's head football coach that doesn't have a contract allegedly, and will probably go back to the NFL and coach the Raiders 101. Don't let their best guy beat you.
Yes, except from the Bill Belichickian days, he'd usually put his number one corner on the number two receiver and then double the one.
Right.
That was always a brilliant scheme, and I'm surprised
And
that
then you have guys like Asante Samuel getting huge contracts to go to the Eagles and being absolute nothing.
yeah, they don't call it Ty Law Island.
Well, Ty Law was legit. Don't diss Ty Law, Hall of Famer.
I don't know. Asante Samuel, doesn't his kid play in the NFL now? It does make me feel pretty ill.
Chargers, right? I think it's on Chargers.
I think so. It doesn't make me feel great about at least my hair is still intact. You still have hair. You have a lot of moss in your head. Mine is still good. I wonder at what point though it's going to start turning gray or just falling out. And
The redheads turn gray?
that's a good question. I haven't found a single gray anything in any place on my body yet, so I'm looking forward to it. I have noticed that if I ever have like a dark hair, that usually it came from an ingrown, and so get it out immediately. But those are the only things I've learned about hair follicles and hair treatment. So before we get to our best bets, I also do have a promo code to give out to save you some money at pregame.com. Let's go through the your segment that you thought we should do before we got on here. Your favorite parts of the college football season at pregame.com.
Yeah, I'll give my Mount Rushmore, my top four.
Okay.
Coming in at number four was the receiver from Denison University, catching a touchdown, down four touchdowns, promptly pulling out a mock pistol from his belt and shooting the cornerback and promptly getting an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. If you haven't seen the video, it is one of the funniest things I've ever seen on a football field.
Uh, Funny that you mentioned that. Do you happen to know my dad's alma mater?
Is it Denison University?
Madison University. And literally, he told me about a recruiting trip or whatever, and recruiting, aka, I think he played soccer in college, but like recruiting for his fraternity, which is also my fraternity, Sigma Chi. He said that they went on a recruiting trip to a football game because do you know what state Denison is in?
Pennsylvania?
Ohio. And so they went
It's close.
to a Ohio State football game, and what they did is they put all the pledges in the back of a like U-Haul with a keg, and they said that they rolled the car or rolled the truck. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. It's amazing I'm even here today because I feel like a bunch of pledges in the back of a U-Haul van with a rollover or something. Like it was like supposedly a snowy day or something. I don't know. My dad also could have been like potentially inventing some parts of this story. But yeah, apparently they went to Columbus, Ohio to tailgate and go to an Ohio State football game because Denison, I guess at that point, didn't have a a rifle toting wide receiver to celebrate after four touchdowns deficit touchdown. But yeah, and he actually texted me when I was at the game. And he was like, "Hey, how funny is it? Your alma mater against my like sort of alma mater." And I'm like, "Ah, I didn't see any little stickers on your helmet, Dad." So there we go. Denison University.
Did you tell our former classmate Andrew Sterling that story? He's an alum.
He's not an alum.
He went to Denison.
He did not.
Yes, he did.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
How
Want
much?
me to call him?
How much you want to
Haven't
bet?
talked to him in 8 years. Don't have his number.
Oh, how much you want to bet? I think I won our last bet, so you have to. You already. So we need to double up the
He
next. So,
played baseball there, dude. I'm 100%
all
sure.
right. So this will be for dinner at the Final Four.
Okay.
You already owe me one, but this is for the second one.
Okay.
He definitely went to Dickinson, but whatever. Semantics.
Fuck, you're right. Damn it.
All right. Shout out to Andrew Sterling. I think I need to send him the link to this episode and be like, hey, if you want to check us out, make sure you give Ben your number. And no chance he spelled your name right in his phone, nor he knew what D word school you went to. He
Do
probably,
I have the do I have the right school then? Was it Dickinson University where he did the
I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen the clip, but now we're gonna have to
what
bust.
what 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 colors are Denison University?
I think red, but I have no idea.
Okay, it was a red team, but so is Dickinson's red too.
Yeah, when we were consulting, Andrew Sterling and I on the same team, he would tell everyone how he played.
Oh God, I forgot you had that inside. You guys were at the
I had to hear the
Infosys,
stories.
the
We had the
boringest company on the planet.
at the biggest joke Indian consulting firm that literally would fight me over a $10 like Wi-Fi bill. I swear to God, made me want to blow my brains out. They did pay me pretty well just to sit at home and do nothing though, and go to the boxing studio and rip my spine up. But yeah, Sterling told that story a lot, and then he played like independent baseball or something like that, and like for a few days, I think, and always talked about it. That was like a big way that he knew about teamwork. And I was like, dude, you played like 4 days in independent ball before like the rest of the team got there or whatever. But
One
anyway.
sec. Give me one sec. I'll be right back. Fill the time.
All right. I don't know what the heck's going on. I'm just amazed that Big East Ben's internet hasn't cut out because he's upstairs with his CFA Institute. Sorry if you're listening to this on audio. Clearly, this podcast has gone off the rails. I swear I'm not on the wild turkey or whatever, cold turkey. I'm more cold turkey than Ben, whatever turkey he is. Uh, and now
Okay, you know why I got confused?
oh, please, I'd love to hear, considering one of our best friends in your phone, last name Maldives.
I'm reading this book called Atomic Habits
Okay.
by this guy James Clear,
Mm.
and he went to Denison University. And I when I was reading, I'm like, oh, I should talk to Andrew Sterling. I wonder if he talks about the guy. But he sounds like he's using this guy's whole monologue.
Oh, yeah.
Consulting firms are so weird, dude. Like they eat that crap up. Like, oh, you're a professional violinist. You'll be able to advise tobacco companies on how to get people hooked.
Consulting is all just a big sham, and it's hilarious how little companies know about their own business. But I mean, if you want to pay me to come in and wear a nice suit and say, "Hey, I talked to all your company and this is what they told me," and oh my God, what? We need to like change our people from full-time employees to contract? No way. That's gonna save us $31 million. That was like my big project, but
We should drive revenue growth by cutting costs.
wait, we know we can't raise our revenue because we can't charge more. How the heck can we possibly make more profit? I have no idea. Maybe I need a CFA Institute picture behind me, diploma, whatever you even call that.
Wait, you mean we can fire our employees?
What? Meta's been doing that forever, but I thought only they knew how because they have a weird founder who then said we need more bro culture, and all the women have lost their minds. And they thems have lost their minds too. Now I'm really going off the rails. All right, give us some more Matt Rushmore. There's three more heads to talk about.
Number three, Michigan flag planting, Ohio State.
Pretty
Just
good.
an awesome scene.
Pretty good.
Hilarious. Just I was at a bar in Newburyport. I was home for the holidays, and I'm with my wife, and I'm watching it, and I'm watching. There's a brawl, right? And they have the drone shot, and you can see the flag coming around the outside, and the guy's coming through. Ripped out of his hand, Jack Sawyer runs away with it. Players are getting pepper sprayed, flying in their eyes. Ryan Day's just sitting there with a stupid look on his
And a
face,
very red, wind-burned face.
and you can see his mouth going, "What happened?" Just an amazing scene all around. Then Gus Johnson is talking about it like it's Tiananmen Square. You got then you got the Ohio rep afterwards trying to pass a law banning flag planting. Just a hilarious hilarious scene all around.
Right.
And I thought Ohio State was dead, and now they're
It
look where
woke
they
him
are.
up. It woke him up. And now they're gonna ruin my life and win another national championship, possibly. At least they're favored to do so by 8 points if you're listening to this podcast already. Keep going, two more.
Number two, Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin was unbelievable this year, um, with just his constant tweeting at the football playoff committee when his team had no shot to make it, just eviscerating them, bragging about the SEC. Credit to Lane, he did win his bowl game over perennial college football powerhouse Duke.
Hmm,
But then you had the Alabama getting smoked. You had Georgia not making it through the college football playoff. You had Missouri won their bowl game, didn't they?
who knows? I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care. Well, anyway, Lane Kiffin, and then you have the story that came out with Sydney Thomas, the ring girl from the Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight with the very large breasts,
Oh,
saying she was DM'd by a SEC coach after the fight, and everyone automatically assumed it was Lane Kiffin. So great year for Lane. I hope
sorry,
he
sorry his girlie left him. I did meet some woman here in Dallas who was from the Old Miss crowd. I don't even know if this is legit. But breaking news, she was like, yeah, I was like, I always thought that was Lane Kiffin's daughter. And then it turned out to be his girlfriend in this. I was like, were they actually together? And she was like, yeah, I think she was just like had a really connected political family. I probably shouldn't say this out loud. And that was like the perfect way for her to get her political clout even higher than it would have been from a big Oxford, Mississippi family. And I'm like, there are so many ways that I don't want this conversation to go. And I probably should move on to the last thing on Mount Rushmore because I feel like I'm about to go down a wrong path.
and my last Mount Rushmore, multiple moments of college football that fit into the same pillar. The locations of games. Griffin, we had some adventures with the location of games.
I was doing so well.
Kansas playing at the Kansas City Chiefs Stadium,
Ooh, that
uh,
was a bad one.
several locations of neutral sites that we thought were true. I thought were true home games.
I was
Uh,
perfect. That was
and
perfect.
the granddaddy of them all, us talking for at least 5 to 6 minutes about how the snow in Texas was going to impact the Texas Ohio State game that was being played at the Cotton Bowl until yours truly astutely recognized that it was at Jerry World. Those are my top four moments. It's been a great year with you. I've enjoyed talking ball since early September or late August, actually, was our first episode. And I can't wait to do it next year. So I love the need for screens. I know we've had some haters on Twitter. I think we've,
Bring them. I
uh,
love them. Please come
I,
back. You just all the haters seem to tweet at Big East Ben. They never hit me up. So I want the hate.
but
Um,
hopefully for our, lack of sharpness at times, we make up for in humor because that's what sports betting's all about. Having a good time and yucking it up.
and just wanting to just throw your various streaming devices off your balcony into the pool. I think yeah, that was especially tough in my group chat having to then try to tiptoe like I think Tom and Jerry style in like the trench coat. You try to tiptoe out of the conversation after saying how they're gonna be really cheap tickets at Jerry World on Friday night. And then also hilarious that I ended up wearing like a polo to the game and after thinking how many layers am I gonna have to wear? Anyway, also shame on the Cotton Bowl for being sellouts and letting their name be used by Jerry World when they're forever enemies, forever trying to keep the Texas Oklahoma game at the State Fair of Texas. So before we get to our best bets, use promo code CFB. No, actually, this is College Football Podcast. Use the promo code Title15, Title15. Go for $15 off for all listeners to College Football Podcast. Could be used on anything you want to do, including championship night picks, I will have one out there and will probably be aligned with what Big East Ben's going to give out in just 1 second. I'm going to be looking at the props pretty hard. I've been playing like sleeper fantasy a lot because that's one of the few actually legal things in Texas to do. And there seems to always be some pretty easy correlated stuff. They make you pick two different sides in the same game, but if you see a game that's going to score a lot of points, go pick that. Pick one guy from one side, one guy from the other, and just hope you don't screw it up. And if somebody gets hurt, it's awesome. Even if you have a first quarter play like I did on Christmas with Luka Doncic, he like left the game in the third quarter or second quarter, and they refunded my first quarter
Oh,
one.
really?
Yeah, which was it should have won. I don't know how they didn't count it. It was a pass to Kyrie Irving for the second assist in the first quarter. Kyrie makes a three, and it never gets credited for a second one. But whatever, I'll let that go. Um, so for your best bet at Big East Bend to close out this season, where are you going?
Notre Dame plus eight
That's
and
the
a half.
Michigan fight
Oh,
song. I mean, I guess it does sort of
it's
go
similar.
because I
Well,
mean it goes sort of the same direction. I guess I kind of knew where you were going, but I wanted to let you finish, and I was waiting for you to do something different than what you just did. But uh,
I pay attention to
hail to Michigan. Yeah, they're not playing.
I pay too much attention to Barstool Sports and Mr. Portnoy, who has too much real estate in my brain. I'm going, I'm going with the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Too many points. Defense is too good. I like the style. I think Riley Leonard is a tough son of a bitch. I like Jeremiah Love. I'm still not sold on Howard. You know,
Oh, dang. I hope I didn't just ruin this whole thing.
we just ruined the whole thing.
Oh, I hope not. We're going again, apparently. I just hit the wrong button. Anyway, keep going.
Notre Dame plus eight and a half. Too many points. If Notre Dame loses, it's only because, according to Lou Holtz, it's only so Ryan Day can keep his job.
That's a very nice thing for you folks to say. I'm gonna go with under 45 in this matchup. I don't expect a lot of points. It does correlate a little bit with your Notre Dame plus 8 play, though I don't think your Michigan fight songs will be played very much in that game. Somehow we made it through recapping the end of the season, unless they want another episode to recap and get ready for next year, which would be hilarious. But if we're taking off, we never hear from any one of you again on the Need for Screens College Football Podcast presented by the Pregame.com Podcast Network. We had a great 2024 into 2025. Thanks for being with us. We look forward to the gridiron next year and GM, whatever his name is, with head coach Bill Belichick, who apparently doesn't have a contract, but we'll see how that goes. Anything else? We got a minute left if you want to, I don't know, sing another fight song.
Bring out Ahoy with an MU rah rah, MU rah rah, MU rah rah.
Next
Love
national.
you.
Bye. Love you. Bye.